Hey guys, this is Mark. In this video, I will review the AI-driven sentiment analysis flow. It is a sample flow included with FlowRunner training workspace and demonstrates a number of useful concepts. These videos about the sample flows, I create them in a way where it assumes that you know nothing about FlowRunner. So you can just follow along and you'll be learning quite a bit. So let's start with this flow. As you can see, the flow starts with form submitted trigger. So a trigger is something that sits and waits for things to occur. In this case, the form submitted trigger is an instance of external callback. External callback is one of the built-in triggers. In fact, if you go to this toolbox, you'll see under triggers, there is this external callback. So this form submitted is exactly this external callback. If you select it, you will see that it says callback, and form submitted is really just the name assigned to it. Whenever you use this trigger, you do get a callback URL. So this URL is unique to that specific block in this specific flow. Whenever any other program, or if you manually use this URL and this flow is in the live state, meaning the flow is running and waiting for things to occur, then using this URL will create a new instance of this flow, and you could have multiple instances of it running. So in addition to this trigger waking up the flow, you can also pass data into the flow, which is exactly what's going to happen. So this trigger will be invoked by a Google form. We will get to that. And then any data entered into that form will come along as the event data that woke up this flow and activated this trigger. So let's say that this form has been submitted and then the data is available in the flow. How do you access this data? In this trigger, form submitted, you see that there is a configuration element that says reference trigger data as, and then we put in form data. And you can customize it any way you want to. So form data element, and you will get to it, you will see where it is being used, will reference the actual data that is in the event that activated this trigger. In fact, the very next block, and then you can kind of, in the flow, you see how it is being executed. These arrows indicate the actual execution flow. So this block is going to be the next one that is executed, and it says save form data in database. Let's select it, and you see that this block is an instance of the save record in database, and this one is an action. Okay, so actions in FlowRunner are just things that do something. In this case, save record in a database, if we go to toolbox, you will see under actions, there is data service. And if you expand it, save record in database is right here. And this action, what it does, it saves data in a database. And in the database, that is in your workspace. And workspace is kind of a new term that we use for backendless applications. If you are new to FlowRunner, just let's stick with workspace. If you are a backendless user, you will know that you have an application. So inside of this workspace, there is a database. And save record in a database, also known as save form data in database, it is configured to create a new record. Okay, the record will be created in a table called AI-driven sentiment analysis flow. In fact, you can select any table that is present in your workspace. This one was selected to save in this particular table. Whenever you select a table, FlowRunner will pull a list of all the columns that exist in this table. Okay. In fact, let's switch to the database and take a look at this table so you can see exactly what's going on in it and how it is structured. For this, click the Quick Access button. And then under Backend Development, you will see Data Service and then Database. In the database, the AI-driven sentiment analysis flow table is the first one in the list. You can see it right here. There is no data in this table out of the box. Once you run the flow and fill out the form, the data will appear. However, for now, let's just take a look at the schema, which is the structure of this table. So click on the Schema tab. You will see there are 7 columns. 4 of them are configurable. These 3 cannot be modified. They're system-level columns. They're there for every single table in the database. So these 4 columns will contain data that comes from the database, and one of them will be assigned by the flow depending on the outcome of the AI decision. So email, feedback, and name are the columns that contain data from the form. Every column has its own data type, which defines what kind of data would be stored in this column. So email is a string, feedback is text, which is a very long string, name is also a string, and share feedback is a Boolean column, meaning that it can contain values such as true and false. If the feedback is going to be positive, as determined by AI, the flow will actually store true or yes value in this column. So this is the structure. Let's go back to our flow and click FlowRunner. If this screen looks different on whenever you watch this video, it's because we're redesigning it right now. However, the functionality will be the same. Locate AI-driven sentiment analysis and click the Edit Flow icon. So here we are studying this particular block. New record is going to be created. This is the table. And then for these columns, notice that we have name, email, and feedback, exactly the columns that we just reviewed. Whenever you select a table, this drop down will have the columns from the table. Once you assign a value to a column, that column value will go away from this drop down. So for example, if I create a new one, notice there is only share feedback available because all others are already taken. The values that are assigned for this column come from form data. You see this form data, then arrow, name, email, feedback. So this is assigned through expression editor. If you click on this icon, this is the expression. And to build this one, just double click form data, click this, and then type in the name of the property that you expect. This is already done for you. I just demonstrated how to do it if you were to do it from scratch. And these are the values that we stored in the database. This action, once it stores record in a database, will return a value which is the actual record from the database with all the columns, with all the values, and that record can be referenced in our flow with this name, saved name in DB, saved form in DB. You can put whatever name you want to reflect what it is. This is just a demo here. And at this point, this action is done. Then the flow is moving on to the next one. And the next block is called determine the sentiment. This is, you can put whatever name you want. The actual block that we're using is AI router. You can see it right here in the toolbox, AI router. And AI router consists of the following properties. First of all, there has to be a prompt where you will let AI know what you want to get done. And this prompt can reference additional data. In this case, the data, we call it decision data, is the actual feedback that is provided by the user, which we can reference again using expression editor, form data, and then we typed in feedback right here. Okay. If you need some additional data to be sent, you can add additional decision data right here by clicking plus, assigning a label, and providing the value. And this value can come from the flow or from the outside, as we have in this case. You can reference this decision data in your prompt, just like we do it right here. It says the feedback field, which is referring to this one, contains user feedback. So we're asking to determine the sentiment of this feedback. AI router works in a way where you can specify, or you have to specify, what decisions you anticipate AI to make, or at least one of them. In this case, the decisions that we anticipate are positive, neutral, and negative. So whenever you specify these decisions, FlowRunner will go to AI and say, this is the data, this is the prompt, pick one of these. Or if you can't, just let me know what you picked. Because it may be something else that is not in the expected decisions list. And in this case, there is this built-in everything else branch, okay, or decision. Now, for every single decision, I mentioned branch, you can create additional branches. As you can see, you can just drag it out. This is for positive, neutral, everything else, and negative, okay? For every single expected decision, you have to have a branch. So for example, if I add an additional expected decision and I say extremely positive, this branch is created right here. You can see extremely positive, but it says that the successor block must be assigned. So the rule of thumb is that for every single expected decision in AI router, you have to have a branch that goes out, because Flow needs to know how to what to do in any given case. So this was just a demonstration. Let's remove this guy. So these are the expected decisions. Notice that for every expected decision, you can have more than one branch. So in this case, for positive, two things will happen. This is positive, right? For everything else, there's one negative, one neutral, one everything else. So you can have multiple branches going out in parallel for exactly the same outcome, and they will be executed at the same time in parallel by FlowRunner. The actual result of AI router is also available as feedback sentiment. In this case, I don't think it is being used anywhere, but in case if you need to, then you can reference it, and this will have property called decision, as you will see once we start exploring analytics later on in this video for this flow. So let's review what happens for each of these. So if the decision is positive, two things will happen, this and this. For this one, this is going to be a save record in the database. However, what we do is we're updating existing record. And in this case, we will be updating the record that was created by this action. So you see, the table is the same table, and we say that the property is going to be share feedback, and the value is yes. The record that is to be updated, it says use data from. And as you can see right here, this is going to be a drop down of all action results that exist in your flow. And in this case, the one that we want is saved form in DB. So saved form in DB references this result from here. As you can see, the result of it is saved form in DB. So this block will take the record created by this block and update that property. It will set that the share feedback is yes. In this case, in the database, it will say that for this particular feedback, yes, you can. It is flagged where it can be shared on social media because it is a positive feedback. In addition to that, there is another positive branch, and this one uses this block. And this block is an instance of send message. So send message comes with Google Gmail integration. If we go to Toolbox, you will see that this Gmail is right here, and there's a bunch of different actions supported by the Gmail integration. This one uses this send message, okay? If you create a brand new application and want to start using FlowRunner, these will not show up automatically unless you install them. In order to install them, click on this icon right here, Marketplace, and then here you will see a list, and this is going to be an ever-growing list. We're working on a bunch of new integrations, and we invite you to start building your own. The documentation talks about that. But anyway, so Gmail is right here. You select it, and then you will have the button to install it. Anyway, so this block is right here, and it needs some additional configuration out of the box. Specifically, you will need to add OAuth connection, so that FlowRunner Flow will know what account to use to send out an email. As far as the email properties, the email address where it's going to be sent to is the email that comes from that Google form. And this is the subject. This is the body content. Let's review, by the way, body content. So it says hi, and then we reference the user by name, add the new line. So this kind of composes the entire email text. And the one that I want to point out is the one where it says backendless. So if you click on this, it's actually no, it was something else. So I was thinking this was multi-text. We will get to this. So this one is actually pretty simple. It's just a bunch of text inputs, and then there is a substitution with the data that comes from the trigger. So in order for this to work, you will need to add an OAuth connection. Click Login, and then you will be able to select an account which you want to use in this case. So here I will use my backendless account, and click Continue, and click Allow. And now there is this connection that it will use to send out emails. It will be using this specific flow in my application will be using my account to send out emails. Now let's see what happens whenever the result is negative. So here, this block is actually an actions group. An actions group is exactly what it is. It's a group of actions. So multiple things will happen in parallel inside of this action group. To see what's inside of this action group, click on this expand icon. And in here, you see that there are two things will happen. One is it will log a value, and it will notify customer service to say that there is a negative feedback. So here, just select the same connection that you identified. And then in here, it put the email address from the form. You don't want to do that because this is going to be notifying actual user who submitted the form. So in this case, you can just put in text input and put your email address or whoever needs to receive an email about the negative feedback. And then the rest is almost the same as the other one that we reviewed. And this block is called notify customer service, but the actual action is send message. So go back to the flow. And then for neutral and for everything else, we're using logging. So logging here uses this specific flow logger action, also comes from the marketplace. The way flow logger works is when you click it, there is a button that is called configure. Okay. In order to see it in action, you will need to open a new browser window and go to logger.flowrunner.ai. This opens up and it gives you the code, in this case 59493. And then you need to click configure and put in that code that it provided you. So it was 59, let me see, I already forgot what it was, 493. 493. So click save, and now all logging will be sent to this window. Okay. In fact, if you want to test it out, let me just make this window smaller. I will have it right here, and I will demonstrate how it works. So I will just, in my flow, if we turn on test mode, and then select this particular action. And this is the test data. So in test data, we can get rid of all of this. And then just say, this is a test. Click apply. And then if you do run block, it runs it. And as you can see in flow logger, it said this is a test. So this way you can have a communication between your flow and the logging interface, which is running at logger.flowrunner.ai. Okay, so let's turn off test mode, and then our data is the same, because in FlowRunner you could have the non-test data and test data. And as you can see, whenever you turn test mode, it says test data. So your test data could be different than the actual production data. Now, at this point, everything is configured. So this flow is ready to run. Okay. Autosave is on, so any changes that you made will automatically be saved. If you don't have autosave on, then you can save flow whenever you make changes. Completely up to you. Autosave just makes things a lot simpler. So now we can start this flow. The flow has been started, but nothing is happening because it's basically sitting and waiting on this form submitted. Okay. What you want to do is you want to click this form submitted and copy this URL. You will need it in just a moment. I will demonstrate why. Go back to Flow Manager. Again, this interface will change quite soon, so it will look a little different, but it will provide exactly the same functionality. It will look better, it will be easier to use. So if what you see on your screen in your FlowRunner looks different, just locate AI-driven sentiment analysis flow, and then you will have the instructions. Here, this link will open up documentation where you can read pretty much the same thing that I'm describing right now in the video. And this link will open up the Google form that will kick off execution of that flow. So now click Google form. This form opens up, and in this field, you will need to paste that URL from that very first block. Remember when we copied this URL from form submitted? This is the URL that you need to put here. Why did we do it this way? Because this form is reusable. It can be used by multiple applications running FlowRunner, and then every application will have its own callback. Whenever you build your own solution, you do not need to put this field in here. You can just put it in the script that goes into your Google form, and documentation describes this. So now let's just say that we want to run this automation, and let's fill out. And by the way, you see there is name, email, and feedback. These are the fields that are being sent by the form to FlowRunner. And then my email, let's say it is going to be mark@backendless.com. And then feedback, this is an amazing product. Okay. Now click submit. Okay. So now by submitting this, the flow has been triggered. Okay. So now if we go back to our workspace and then navigate to the database, in here you see that there is already a database record that includes all the information that I have submitted. Notice that share feedback has yes, simply because the AI determined that this feedback is positive. So therefore, it updated this database record, and I received an email. You can see the email on your screen. So this was sent from me to me, but that's because that's how I configured my flow, and I used my email address in the form. One thing that I want to demonstrate in addition to what you already saw, if we go back to FlowRunner, and since this flow is running, if you click on this icon, Analyze, and then in the new interface, you will also be able to do this. So click Analyze. This will open the analytics for your flow. As you can see, there is one run, and it completed 100% completion rate. There are no active instances. And then in here, it will demonstrate what actually ran. So in here, you see that 100% of all the invocations went from here to this block, then 100% of them. And then as you can see, you can track percentage-wise across all flows, all instances, how they are being executed, okay? There are no problematic instances. This interface will show if there are any problems, any issues. For the instances that are actually there, for all of them, whether they are still running or have completed, if you go to instances, this one, right now there's only one, it has executed. The total time that it ran was 3 seconds. And then if we navigate to this, it will tell you exactly what was going on with the flow that was kicked off by my Google form. So here the form was submitted, and as you can see, this is the data that came into this trigger. Okay. Now, if you select this one, it will show you what the input parameters were and what the output parameters were. So the output parameters is the actual record that was created in the database. This is the unique ID that was assigned to that record. And after that, it went to AI router. Okay, so this is the data that was sent to AI router feedback. And then the router decision was positive. And as a result, this one and this one was executed. And in fact, whatever was executed, you will see this little green arrow. Okay, so you can see, and it will tell you exactly how long it took. So this one took 1 second, 1.4 seconds. This one executed 210 milliseconds, very fast. Whatever was not executed, it will have this icon, and they're going to be grayed out. So you, by looking at the instance, you will know exactly which blocks have executed. By the way, if I switch to my logging, nothing is there simply because none of the logging actions were executed. Okay, if you want to try, just submit a different feedback and you will see that the results are also going to be different. This is it, guys. This is the AI-driven sentiment analysis. I hope you found this useful. Definitely explore this flow, play with it, and there will be another video where we built this flow from scratch. So you can, I recommend that you watch that one if you're interested in building something similar. Thank you for watching, and as always, happy automating.